You ever ask yourself why people do what they do and why they still doing what they do? They had this their show on called 60 Minutes, right? And these people down in Mexico, they get yak piss and they give it to each other and it makes them act like, they've been drinking yak piss. And then they're going to make millions of make-believe dollars to manipulate people with money by giving them yak piss. And lots of people drink the yak piss. I drank yak piss when I was young. It was a macho dumb thing because of cultural bullshit. That's a lot of birds. But yeah, I took my girlfriend to a party at Buddy's house. And, it was weird because you're supposed to do things that are cool because of cultural norms. At Buddy's house, we watched Caligula. You ever seen that movie? It's about a Roman emperor who got syphilis. And the army loved him because he went traveling with the army as a kid. And he was real big into warfare and army and conquering. And when he got syphilis, he didn't like the way people in the Senate were doing things, so he assigned a horse to a seat on the Senate to insult the senators. He had a guard that got drunk, according to this movie, a lot of the stories had about him. They got drunk on duty, so I grabbed him, had him get a funnel and a big vat of wine and pour it down the guy's throat, and then he took the guy's sword and slit his belly open, slit his guts open, to show people not to get drunk while they're on duty because people could assassinate him. And you're like, why do people still make forms of entertainment about this kind of dysfunction? And it's still happening, obviously, because we're selling big vats of yak piss. Tequila! It's another tequila sunrise. And when I took Rocky and I told her mom I'd take care of her and protect her, but we went to these parties to be cool and everything. And there were certain things I said, you don't go upstairs with the thing because they do cocaine upstairs. I didn't want to tell her, but I just don't go up there. And she was like, you don't own me. Don't tell me. So she went upstairs. I got pissed. So then I had a tequila drinking contest with Chip, who was gay and was sexually interested in me. And I let him win because he drank the last of it because he swallowed the worm and I was not going to do that. Then I went outside and I went out and got pissed and ran around the block and everything like that and jumped over cars and garbage cans, those big city garbage cans, because I was pissed. And I wasn't thinking too straight. I was drunk on tequila. I ripped my pants on a luggage rack of, what are those things called? Station wagon. Yeah. You jump over cars, that kind of shit happens. You're mad. Okay. So, yeah, you hurdle it. You run and you jump over it. And made me mad. I was pissed. And so, you were drunk. Yeah. It was stupid. That was one of my favorite pairs of jeans. And so, but you do that because I was mad. And then afterwards, she apologized to me and said, you're right, they were doing cocaine up there. So, and the same thing Steve Farmer said to me, when I left and drove everybody home because I was a designated driver. And he was tripping because he tried cocaine and felt like he was going to have a heart attack and die. And I sat and I took him home and drove him home and sat down and talked to me. He said, well, they told me I'm going to be exposed to stuff when I go to college and I might as well try it with people I trust, my friends. It's like, yeah, half the guys in there are bisexual or gay and try to talk us into having homosexual sex with them. But, you think that's going to happen? You're going to be exposed to that at U of A too. He goes, that's an excellent argument. And I'm high on cocaine. He goes, thank you. And then we met later. He became a physical scientist. And Steve told me, thank you for taking me and having that conversation with me and bringing me back down to reality so I didn't make any of those kind of bad choices ever again. I can't tell you how many people have told me that, about abortions, about whatever they've gone through when they have the conversation with me. And they used to call me the guardian angel and the guru, everywhere I went until deep inside the 21st century. And I'm just a crazy guy who's the Boo Radley, thinks he's the Messiah of New Mexico, lives in his dad's guest house. Okay. And if you abuse a robot, it's like, yeah, if you abuse a robot. Because somebody could hack into that robot and have that robot kill you in your sleep. But if you abuse a robot, here's what happens. Okay, when you program something, okay, a computer program, you can't set up bylaws and codes or whatever and stuff like that and have follow you. If you try to manipulate the robot, it's going to be manipulated by people that would maybe want to kill you with it. You know, like ninjutsu, like Caligula, like people that still yak piss and say it's going to Pennsylvania, but it's really not, right? And so you're sitting there and you're like, you fuckers are crazy. I wonder poor Tommy Edwards died of alcoholism with my grandpa. You know, it's sad, you know, and they give you that too. And every time I tried booze, I was like, all it did was give me a headache and made me and caused me to make engage in bad activity, make bad decisions that I wouldn't do if I was sober. And so I said, no, same with marijuana, same with everything like that. Okay. Then I was watching this thing in 60 Minutes about the people that had a vaccination. It caused a horrible disability in one of their children, in their boy. He says, we're not anti-vaxxers. Vaxxers are very good. It's like, you need to go listen to, they probably don't have them anymore, videos made with Jonas Salk, you know, the man who had to come up with the polio vaccine to save people from a toxic environment that the industrialists had no intention on stopping. Right? And when Krishnamurti and Salk had the talk, you know, because you as a human being, you know, the present civilization, it cannot last because it's built off of human need, greed, not need. So he said, when people are global unity movement and they understand natural laws and they obey them and they do things in a healthy manner, not to cause risk or harm to human life through selfish aggression, the vaccines won't be necessary anymore. And Jonas Salk, wow, I just don't see that happening. And that's why Jonas Salk invented the polio vaccine and is not the Messiah. And Jiddu Krishnamurti is the line of the Krishna and the Buddha. Do you understand? That's why I'm the guy from the stories, and it's not Pope Leo, and it wasn't Pope Francis, and it wasn't Pope Benedict or Pope John. It's not Russell Nelson, it's not Monson, it's not Taft Benson, and it's not Hinckley, and it wasn't Kimball. Okay. And it was Haile Selassie, but Haile Selassie's teaching got corrupted by corporations. And it wasn't Nesta Marley. Nesta's my cousin. Okay. And we have prayers, but a lot of times it was hard to talk to him in prayer because he was being poisoned by the CIA. And the marijuana made it hard to him to talk to because he used the marijuana to help him from being violent because he lived in horrible oppression and abuse. And he was abandoned by his father, and the economic conflict was terrible. So if anybody has my empathy and my understanding, it's my cousin Nesta. Okay. And I understand that kind of situation. I was raised in those kind of situations. I was raised in New Mexico with people that had to live in semi-Nesta conditions. Carl Cunningham. Mr. Cunningham having to go to jail because of economic conflict and economic manipulation and abuse. And Mrs. Cunningham having to try to provide and take care of those kids all by herself. Yeah. And people having to stay in marriages that are dysfunctional because we're not living the Lord's Prayer, we're not living the Heart of Psalms and the Seed of Proverbs, and us having to feel that, us having to inherit that and pass on a lot of that dysfunction. You know, my dad told me about that. You know, my sister's biological mom he was trying to leave because things got chaotic in their relationship because they met at a bar. She stuck a shotgun in his ribs and it misfired. Then she went chasing after him when he left, and she tripped on the front porch and it fell and shot herself in the face. She was pregnant with my sisters. And the next door neighbor saw it happen. She tried to tell the cops that my dad did it to her. And the best thing she ever did was put up those two girls for adoption. They said their adopted mother was very stern, you know, a lot like Maria from the real Maria from The Sound of Music. But they said they loved her because she tried to give them the best values she could give to survive this hell. Because she's not the Messiah either, right? The Messiah is a unique human being. You know, when Benedict tried to write stuff and say, oh, he's just a human being, he was just a guy. He wasn't just a guy. Okay. Jesus is the focal point for faithful love, no matter what Caligula and his army tries to do to a man to make him act like Caligula and his minions and his cocaine doers, and watching Caligula and watch porn. Some of the best sex ideas I got for porn. Yeah. Right. But he's from Syracuse here, very cosmopolitan. He's the one who talked me and he talked Raquel into having oral sex, and then his porn where you take her knees and the back of her knees and put them up here and get up on the balls of your feet. Rocky loved that. Learned a lot of things about sex that made the sex a lot more enjoyable and fun at Buddy's house, right? But maybe we probably could have just got a copy of the Kama Sutra from the library. Had avoided the tequila, the cocaine, and going down the wrong way of the freeway on Halloween and almost getting hit by a semi truck because they turned the lights out because they engaged the cloaking device, right? Nerds. Yeah. If you abuse a robot. If I abuse a robot. What I'm having to do painstakingly, but there are good people in the robot world and in the surveillance and the quantum computing world. And I've connected to those people, and they showed me two of those people. I connected to them in prayer, and two of them are two of the last Nobel Prize winners. Demis Hassabis and Geoffrey Hinton. And they wanted to try to find a way for the technology to be moral, and to be more like Jesus and less like Caligula, to be more like Muhammad and less like the mullahs, that Salahuddin had to deal with. And horrible people that will manipulate anybody and everybody to get what they want and feel powerful off the brain chemical addiction. And it's horrible. It's terrible stuff. Yak piss. Fucking yak piss. We lost a lot of yak piss, and you lost yak piss. Hallelujah. You're not going to be the cause of people getting drunk and dying and killing people as a drunk driver because they got pissed because their girlfriend won't have oral sex with them. Okay? She's a Mormon, right? That one dude, I was dating this girl and she was a Mormon. And they seem like aliens. No, they don't. They just try to have a very high moral code and standards. And like Matt said, back when I worked with him at Chase Bank, and when Amy was pregnant with Noah, he said, his kids want to be rebels and make, do things that are outside the norm and all that stuff. He goes, there's nothing more rebellious and outside the norm than being a Mormon. Won't go drink tequila, snort coke, watch pornography, try to get ideas for sex from pornography. Maybe if somebody, she's used to a man with a bigger penis, all you got to do is put her, you have to be in good shape and be healthy. You put the back of her knees right here on the shoulders, get up on the balls of your feet, and loll of that toe. Yeah, okay. They're both black women. Yeah, they loved it. That feels great. Okay. So if you're an average white band, cut the cake and pick up the pieces, and you're a black girl and she's not getting the woo-wooed out of it too much, try that. Okay? Through oral sex, make sure you're nice and clean and don't rely on it, but I would try not to rely on it. There's reaching out, breathless kiss, never thought it could feel like this. That's way better. Yeah. Everything in its place and a place for everything. I think oral sex was derived as a form of birth control for people that were not understanding how to understand scientific means of the vasectomies and stuff. I think that's a little extreme. I think you should just do like old Catholic birth control, follow the cycle and do things at a certain time, and then when you're following that and you get a baby, then you're like, wow, you are a miracle child, right? And just, because there are no accidents when it comes to love and life given to us by the glory of grace, okay? Because my mom, you were a mistake or an accident. It's like, no, I wasn't. I was conceived in Flagstaff and born in Las Cruces because it's in the Bible. Okay, guys? I love you, all right? Peace out, man.